It's Claussen, like the pickle, and with no relation.
Is it? Are you just as crunchy?
It's way crunchy.
Welcome to Drop the Dis. This week we speak to a local legend who's an entrepreneur in the fields of event planning, restaurants, and even more. And we talked to him about his highs, his lows, and his inspiration along the way.
Went to a show with some of my fraternity brothers and some of the people that I was sober with, and at that time I realized like that was the most fun I ever had. And so that's how I got into saying like, this is what I want to do. Like I want to bring this happiness that I had that night to other people.
You may have heard of Friends with Benefits. You guys are the college music group.
Well, it's
really?
not college music. It seems like I listen to a little bit of everything. Like, yes, do I love Drake? Do I love Future? Do I love Lucy Vert? Do I love St. John? Like, these are my. I mean, I have these tattoos on my wrist. Like, these are. Like I'm a white ink gal though. But like this is But at the same time, with each genre of music comes their own issues.
The accidental story of Southbound Smokehouse.
Brian says, "Come down to Crump's on Central," and I'm like, "For what?" Crumb Run's our boy, especially Brian. Like, they all grew up together. And I go down there, and he's ripped out this bar like completely, and he's like, "Dude, we're about to open a restaurant." And I'm like, "Yeah, I thought we were buying a venue."
This week, you're going to hear an incredible story from an incredible guest, George Claussen, as he talks to us in Augusta Podcast Studio.
This is life, like you're going to have your ups and downs, but at the same time, I'm addicted to the chaos.
You're listening to the Drop the Dis podcast.
So this episode is presented by our presenting sponsor for the year 2020. It is Nancy Powell. She is the real estate broker for Powell and Associates. Nancy's a great realtor. Audrey and I had her. David's had her.
Right.
And David's working on possibly more properties.
Fingers crossed.
And Audrey and I are super happy with the home that we had. But we had it because Nancy fought for it for us. If you want someone that's in your ring, that's going to educate you, that's going to tell you what the process of buying a home is like, Nancy is your girl.
Get a free consultation, learn a little bit.
Yep. She's got Instagram, Facebook. She actually wants you to DM her on Instagram.
Right.
At Downtown Augusta Broker. You can also email her at nancypowell1977@gmail.com. Hey guys, I'm Chris.
Hey guys, I'm David.
And we are Drop the Dis podcast. We're super excited to tell you about our guest today.
That's right. And we're sitting here today with
George Claussen.
Wait, the George Claussen?
We only made it 30 seconds before that started.
If I could catch a flight over to Europe, I would be Sir George Claussen.
So shoot.
So George, Sir George
Right.
Claussen.
This is great.
So George, tell us about what you're doing in Augusta right now.
Man, since COVID, I've been, of course, trying to think about what I want to do and, all that. But what I'm doing currently is on Southbound 1 and Southbound 2 or Southbound Central, Southbound Riverside, and working on a new restaurant concept that you'll hear about soon. It's basically a tapas, craft cocktail, and raw bar. So that'll be...
Sounds like a millennial restaurant. Are you a millennial, George?
Technically.
Okay, that's all we needed. That's good. You're close enough.
I am.
Okay.
I think I'm on the year.
Yeah.
34. I don't know the actual each of those years.
And so you're also involved in entertainment, is that right?
So I own the Country Club Bar and Saloon, but I've done a lot of shows and do a lot of concerts in Augusta and around Augusta. From, a second home of mine is Charleston, South Carolina, and have sent me. My family's had a house there my whole life until recent. But so done a lot there and lived there for about 4 years before I came back to Augusta. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's take it back a little bit. Are you originally from Augusta?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I am. I went to a lot of middle schools.
Tell us all about them, and tell us why you had to move to new schools.
God.
I'm just kidding. Don't
I think
do
it
that.
was. I think at the time they like blamed it on ADHD.
Yeah, if there's like a sealed
yeah.
record
But I
involved,
think it was complete illiteracy. No, but so yeah, I did. I born and raised here. Of course, right off Walton Way on Huxley Drive, and I went to school at EDS. I even went to school at the Augusta School, which used to be in the bottom of the Bon Air, which a lot of people don't even know there was even, I don't know, it was safe with all the asbestos and shit was in there. Or, sorry, stuff.
it's too late.
So, too late. We'll go back and edit that. But I went to Augusta Christian. I went to Riverside Military Academy. Also got Asheville. The Asheville School in Asheville. So
The Asheville School in Asheville.
Yeah.
So where'd you graduate high school?
I graduated high school from Richmond Academy, and
Okay.
love Richmond Academy and what they've done and the history behind that school. I mean, I think it's literally it might be like
7,000 years old.
I mean, literally, it's like 1726 or something like that. Like before the Declaration.
It's like there was nobody in America.
But like George Washington went here when he was 3. It's like the oldest public. It's a great school, and they have the international baccalaureate program there.
Right.
And actually, my year was the first year of the IB program, which I was not in. Usually, I was like, I was Richmond Academy started the IB program.
There you go.
There you go.
And then I don't even elaborate on that.
The sentence ends there.
Exactly.
So,
I think it's smart.
So you graduated in what year?
I graduated in 2005.
2005.
Okay. Yeah, and
At ARC.
From ARC and went to West Georgia for a little while, and then of course got in my fair trouble a lot. And
So it happens.
yeah.
So answer this.
This is another level happening. But
So you went to ARC. I went to ARC for a couple years.
Yeah.
And then you went to West Georgia. At the time, were you thinking to yourself like, okay, so I'm gonna be this tycoon and open up a bunch of restaurants and bars?
No, not at all. Actually,
Specifically in Augusta.
Specifically in
dude,
Augusta.
there's even as we're talking, I'll get into a little bit more of where, who, and what I am, but
And what.
what I am. So basically, I went to school, and high school was, my parents kind of, I did live a privileged life, etc., and kind of did whatever I wanted, and got heavily involved in drugs, etc., and then into college as well, which I never finished college, but for me, how I got into even the music industry was that I was a social chair, etc., for the fraternity I was in, and so from there, I got into kind of really realizing that I didn't have to do drugs or to drink, etc., to have fun. I went to a concert when I was gone away, as my dad says, vacation, when I was off in a treatment center when I was like 18.
Okay.
And and went to a show with some of my fraternity brothers and some of the people that I was sober with, and at that time I realized like that was the most fun I ever had, and so that's how I got into saying like, this is what I want to do. Like I want to bring this happiness that I had that night to other people, whether that's people that can handle using or doing whatever they want, or people that can't. You don't have to be messed up to enjoy.
Right.
So
music.
are you sober to this day?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've never had anyone on, I don't think, with that kind of element in their story.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you kind of gained from that or took from that you still apply today?
I don't. I think that
It's a very personal question.
No, dude. I'm super personal. Like,
Okay.
don't look at me at all. Like, I'll sit here all day. Like, I spoke at Unicoi National Convention with like 4,000 people. So
Wow.
So, like,
This is
I'm not-
nothing.
No, yeah. Well,
Okay.
just talking about like it doesn't bother me talking about that type of stuff. But I think what you learn is whatever that is, whether you drink or whether you're or a gambler or whether you're whatever that void is that you have that you're might have a problem with or over obsessive with.
Right.
You kind of learn that like, what the boundaries are, your triggers, I was such a young age, I was 18 years old. Do I think I could drink and stuff? Probably. But like, what is that worth?
Right.
Like, is it worth risking everything that I've accomplished by picking up drinking again? No, but I had to do that for the first time I got sober. I had to go out there
Right.
again and then realize that, this is something that's greater than me, and I don't like anything that is, there's a big difference between a mood altering and a mind altering drug.
Right.
And alcohol, or any scheduled, narcotic is something that, it impairs your decision. And once you've lost control, I think that boundary, whatever that is, and there's people that are, rock star sober, and, I'm not gonna get into that, but, smoking dope, etc., which, I think is a big difference between a mood altering drug and a mind altering drug. Once again, it's just to each his own, and you just have to know your own boundaries and whatnot, but you learn from your mistakes. And for me, that's kind of what I did. And from that, and from constantly being in trouble from, age of 14 to, virtually 20, it was, what's it worth, So it just, to each his own. People have to learn the hard way. I had to learn the hard way. So, I kind of went from there and decided that this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be.
And that's how
in
you
the
got to
music business.
entertainment, right?
So I got entertainment.
Okay.
So, I was like, this is what I want to do. And at the time, I had my connections, et cetera, from booking shows, et cetera, or knowing band members.
Coming up next, we dig into the inception of the event group Friends with Benefits. But first, I want to take a second to talk about our partnership with Savannah River Brewery. We don't do any episodes without them.
Right. You may not know this, David, but I drank a Swamp Thing, and I also drank a Smash Attack.
Ooh.
And it's delicious, and I'm loving it.
And they've got some new stuff out right now. By the way, I think we have both already previewed their Oktoberfest, and it's bomb. And you guys are in for a freaking treat when that comes out. They got some cool stuff going on in the community. Got their Friday dinners with the Hive that they're doing right now. And just being involved in a business that's so big on working in the community is what it's all about for us.
Absolutely.
And let's get back to our conversation with George. So, like, what was let's just say professionally. So you can't get like an intern in event planning from what how did you start
I was
that?
heavily like involved like indirectly at the Georgia Theater in Athens, like Wilmot Green. Wilmot's a guy from Athens, just in the features, but Wilmot Green, who owned the Georgia Theater, was was a really nice guy to me.
And when was this? Give us an idea.
Right around that time of like 06.
Okay.
And I saw that, like, I remember doing, like, there was the show at Pastor Troy, and he went like at the Georgia Theater.
I love
and
that.
And after that, like, he was at the house with us, like, partying like all night. I got to drive like this, like, F-350 dually truck, red, like all this stuff, So like, I got to see that side, and people also put like promotion into this, like, oh my gosh, it's so great, you got to meet this or that person, but like, it's just as many perks as that does have. The cons outweigh the pros for sure.
Really?
Yeah, it's just different. Like I was on actually here at the Augusta Common. I don't want to jump forward though.
You're fine. Go
No,
for
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Like
Go
at the
ahead.
Augusta Common, the first XM live stream was right here. So we did the Major Rager from there. And I remember there was a phone call of Ted Nugent that had called in. I don't know if I was on Austin show or if I was on the XM. I don't know. It was years ago. I was on some show.
Okay.
Either the XM.
So that was either
then,
Austin Rhodes or Sirius XM?
or I think I don't know which one I was on.
Okay.
And they said that Ted Nugent was trying to call in. This is Masters Week. This is a big deal.
Right.
We put in like AT&T had like hardwired under Reynolds Street. Like an actual hardwire of, a connection so they could have
Right.
complete, with no interruptions, etc. We weren't dealing with Wi-Fi signals. This
Right.
had to be, that.
Absolutely.
And so, I got a call in, and it was, I didn't believe it was Ted Nugent. And so, of course, we get through whatever we were talking about, and person was still on the line. So I was like, I got to at least, give this a shot if this
Right.
actually happened. And
Give the prank caller his time in the spotlight.
Exactly. We were off air at this point. And, answered it, and it really was Ted Nugent. And he was here for Masters. And I was like, dude, I feel like such an ass, can I leave you tickets to the show? And he said, yeah. He never ended up coming, but he gave me the best advice that I ever had. And I asked him, I said, is there anything you can share with me? And he goes, George, you will make more money than you have ever seen in one day. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. And he was like, you will lose more money than you've ever seen in one day. And it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's like you can do 10 shows and make money and lose on one and lose for 15 shows. And I've done that, whether that's a Zach Brown or a Keith Urban or,
So let's back up a little bit because we've started to hit some big names.
Yeah.
So let's go back to 2006.
Yeah,
You've
sure.
just taken your event planning internship
Sure.
that doesn't
Right.
exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. Yes.
So how does that grow into what you're doing now?
I'm trying to remember how it went. Oh, so basically this is what happened. So there was a friend of mine up in Charleston that had a New Year's Eve party, and it was the biggest thing ever. He made so much money. It was $100 a ticket. This had to be 12 years ago, or 11 years ago. And so I think the Friends of Benefits started about 10 years ago. So he made all this money, and everybody on earth wanted to be in Charleston New Year's, etc. And I said, we started talking, and I said, well, we were, of course, betting people kind of at the time. And
Right.
I said, I can make more money than you can off a Masters event versus your New Year's event in Charleston. And he said, okay. So we rented out the Julian Smith Casino.
So naturally,
It was 600 people. We had $100 a ticket. And we had booked Moon Taxi. And
wow.
a lot because of, and they were huge then in the college scene, and huge fan then and still am now. Huge. They're very, very, very close to them. And they, Dawson Morris, who's from Augusta, who was in Dead Confederate, Hardy Morris's brother, is a very successful solo artist. And Dawson manages many bands. And so it just kind of worked out. Moon Taxi plays Julian Smith Casino right there off of Broad and Washington Road.
Right.
And we made, a bunch of money. And my buddy of mine, Charlie, who owns Loop Recruiting, actually,
Okay,
right
cool.
there, that really cool new
Yeah,
building.
yeah.
Also a good person to talk to if you're doing
Yeah.
podcasts.
Okay.
We'd love to.
Did probably the best renovation outside tax layer in this downtown. But, he said, why don't we donate this to money, to charity? He had gone to this Quill party up in Charlotte during Quill Hollow event, and these kids did this big party and donated all of it to charity. So that's what we decided to do. It was a good family friend of ours was named William Weston, and he indirectly was friends with Tito from Tito's Vodka.
No way.
And lived with him in Austin and created
which,
art.
by the way, like 10 years ago, Tito's
Was nothing.
Nothing.
like
Was
just
nothing.
starting,
Literally
right?
nothing.
They would give us pickup trucks full of freaking Tito's.
Dude.
And still to this day,
They probably still do.
Anything that we ever ask of that company, we've become very close to very two alcohol companies, Sweetwater and,
Okay.
and Tito's. But Tito's was definitely first. And so, so Will Weston was friends with Tito, and we developed this connection from them then.
So you guys are the reason Tito's is so big, right? Right?
I would. Tito's is big here.
You know what I say it was? I say it was that little piece of paper that went around it. It showed their rating above every other. It was just their genius marketing. What they did versus any other company is they invested in events, and every event in this country, they dumped money in it, and that is why Tito's, not only is it the great product, they've literally replaced the name of vodka. Do you say vodka? Or
no, you say Tito's.
You say Tito's and soda, or whatever. You know, so like they've literally done that because they are geniuses in marketing.
Right.
So, that developed, and then we started going from there, and, that was very successful. The next year we had like Red Bull involved and had Lexi Thomas and Webb Simpson and Ricky Fowler play a skee ball tournament.
And this is
so if people don't know, these are
casino.
like huge golfers.
Oh yeah.
And
like
Ricky
huge.
Fowler had to have been 15 at the time. Like
he was a little bit older. He sent me a crate of Red Bull, and I think I had like a semi-stroke.
He probably
a crate.
Did he bring his motocross bike?
Was he wearing only orange?
He was wearing only orange.
There we go.
Yep.
We also had the country club later on a couple years later. Ended up hanging out.
Now, how many years is
when
this?
He missed the cut.
How many years is this before Friends with Benefits?
So like pretty much, and I hate jumping around. I'm natural all over the place, but it was the next year I had called my cousin Clayton, my
So we're
sister.
talking like 2007, 2008?
No. This was like 12.
2012.
And I said, look,
Okay.
I want to create this as a nonprofit. This is what I want to do. And I want to do these events for charity. Do
you have a specific charity you benefit?
We started to at one point, and then we realized that we were really involved with the Ronald McDonald House. And then it was, why aren't you getting involved with Kids Restart? Why aren't you doing Turn Back the Block?
Yep.
And then we did a lot for Turn Back the Block and a lot for Press On, which are Turn Back the Block is my godfather, Clay Boardman's, charity for the revitalization of Harrisburg. And then of course, Turner, Simpkins, and Tara, who are just the best human beings on earth, and, dealing with their child with pediatric cancer. Brennan Simpkins and him overcoming that, and St. Jude. And so those are two probably the charities we focused on the most.
Okay.
It's hard to choose, and two, it's also hard to, when you sit around and you want to donate money to charity, but you lose, $60,000 on a show. You just don't like the world of promotion.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason why one day works and the next one doesn't. Like, you just like, sometimes it hits, sometimes it's not. I mean, you're literally playing roulette. Like, it's the way it is.
Yeah.
And there's been some times where we've been able to give an ungodly amount of money, and there's some times where we are wondering how the hell we're going to pull off this next show. It's just the way that is, and I think people get that, twisted.
That's fine.
When we come back, we talk to George about how event planning turned into an ownership stake in Southbound Smokehouse, created the major rager, and has led George to become an extremely successful entrepreneur. You're listening to the Drop the Disc podcast at Augusta Podcast Studio.
So, have you ever seen that little red book? Maybe it's in a restaurant or it's in a boutique downtown. You might even find it in Evans, Georgia.
You might even find it in Augusta Podcast Studio, Chris.
Oh, you definitely will find one here because we have an incredible partnership with the Little Guide of Augusta. Local to the city, we've had Stuart Rayburn on the show to talk about it. If you want to know more about them in detail,
please listen to that episode. It's so good.
Great. Stuart Rayburn is a bro.
Right.
And anyways, it's a little book that has all these different stores, shops, restaurants, boutiques, all throughout the city of Augusta, and they're all local. And it's just really cool to be able to flip through that and see what the city of Augusta offers.
And by the way, speaking of what the city of Augusta offers, it's actually interesting you bring that up because the Little Guide has started to offer videos and drone footage, and I referred them to somebody. And the review that I got is that they are incredible and extremely professional. And so, you know, not only can you get this single resource to learn about all these local businesses, but if you need video work, call the Little Guide.
Right. And if you do have a business in the city of Augusta,
Oh, yeah.
check out
You have
the Little
to.
Guide. Just reach out to them. I'm sure you can DM them as well. Put your business in the Little Guide to Augusta. It was super easy for us to do it. In fact, they set up a time. They brought their own photographer over here to our studio, took really good pictures of us, and it was super easy.
It's so easy.
And so anyways, if you want to learn more about them, check them out on Facebook or Instagram.
And thelittleguide.com.
Yes, thelittleguide.com.
We're in 2012 right now.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. We're going to work with charities. We're going to do events.
Yeah, we're going to do events.
So talk to us of how just doing events, talk to us how that turned into what you're doing with Southbound specifically. And then also, we haven't even touched really on the Masters event that you guys do
and
every
that's
year.
basically how that started. So that was Birdies and Bogeys. Those
Okay.
events 11 and 12 that happened.
Okay.
That was in Birdies and Bogeys. And the first year was just a DJ and a Motown band. The second year was Moon Taxi. And then at that point, I saw there was a need in Augusta for something to happen Masters Week.
And did you guys run into any issues with, so there's Walk for Dough with Joe Stevenson.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
have you guys run into issues, or how has that community embraced you guys?
Dude, Joe and Emily, they taught me everything I knew.
Okay.
And then at some point,
They seem to be like that.
We
love that.
we outgrew them. As no offense, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Right.
But at some point, we took it to another level.
Okay.
And we decided to do things with other people and whatnot. But I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for Joe and Emily, and I'll never discredit them for that.
Yeah.
You know, and they do successful stuff, and they do great stuff, and we do great stuff. You know, just because you know we're not like, you know, brother and sister as we might have used to have been. You know, life goes on. You know.
Yeah.
And
Well, you have to have your own identity.
Well, your relationships as you were years ago, you're just developing different things.
Right.
You know, like it is what it is. You know, I respect them immensely. They've done and created, you know, great things in this town, and same with Coco Rubio, and
Yep.
he was a huge mentor of mine. And as we bought Sky City, as I started doing shows, as we're going into that in 2013, getting involved, I learned
Okay.
from there that there could be something else.
Okay.
Like, you know, that Augusta needed something for the younger crowd.
Right.
Not saying that Darius Rucker or Goo Goo Doll or anything they
Right,
did
right,
didn't
right.
want that, but like there's this younger demographic. This
When you see
home-
that's a lot of families.
yeah, exactly. There's a younger demographic that brings their kids, all their friends home from college, and like they're going to Surrey Tavern and they're doing all this stuff, and it's like, dude, let's throw a freaking party and do it. So Moon Taxi had played. The next night, they're going to 2 nights in the Georgia Theater. Humphreys McGee had played there 3 nights before then. So I run in, go upstairs, and Humphreys was staying to see Moon Taxi because they were talking about doing, you know, them as support on a tour. So they stayed. They had a night off. They stayed. So I meet Ryan Stasek, who's basically the face of Humphreys McGee, a dear friend of mine now, and a lot of the reason of where I got was because of him and his manager, who's also a partner of mine now. But he said, we went to Georgia Theater, you know, so that would have been Thursday. This was Saturday night of Masters Week. We go to Masters, we get someone to drive us up to Athens to see Moon Taxi play, you know, the second night of the Georgia Theater. And Humphreys is there. And, you know, not that I was like some huge Humphreys fan.
Right.
You know, I've now become that, but it took me many years. No offense, guys. Many years. You know, respected as artists, they are the...
If you're listening to this
Yeah.
show, I love you.
Believe me, they will. Some of them, one of them will. But, you know, as respected artists, they are the most textbook definition of a band, went to Notre Dame, masters in their craft.
Wow.
You know,
That's cool. That's really cool.
Webster Dictionary of... You know, they
They
rip.
studied, they're majored in band.
Major on another level. There's
love that.
There's no band as tight as them.
Major.
Okay.
And so Exactly, Major Rager. So, which, they helped come up with that name, their manager Vince. So that night I get up and Ryan Stasek is, the cool kid of the band. And he really is. Hottest wife, coolest wife, has everything, like this guy.
I only hope he's the one that listens to the show.
I'll get into that with him too. I've had him play golf with Kid Rock at the Augusta National.
Wow.
But, he's like, he's just been like the most popular kid in school.
Yeah.
He's been the Zach Morris his whole freaking life. Sorry, freaking. So, but he's been that Zach Morris his whole life. So, so we go up and we're sitting on the rooftop, and at this time the Georgia Theater had just, had the renovation for it burning down.
Right.
Okay.
A couple years prior to then, this might have been 2 years later. And I have my own demons with Athens, so it takes me a lot to go back there. So, but I wanted to see this, so we're sitting up the upstairs, and Dawson Morris, Moontax's manager, who's from Augusta, introduced me to Ryan Stasek of Humphreys, and I was like, look, man, we had this great party in Augusta for Masters Week, and little do people know that these artists, where they've never played golf before in their life or not, as they become a bigger band, it's the one thing that every city has. Mm-hmm. They can either drink or they can pick up a hobby. And so a lot of bands, or party or whatever, a lot of bands pick up golf as they get bigger. Like most all of them.
Yeah.
And so Humphreys had become that. So he's
Okay.
like, why don't we get to play the Masters? Why can't we play? Or sorry, not play the Masters. Sorry,
Play the National.
Play, why can't we play Major Rager? Why can't we play during Masters Week?
okay.
Why
Yeah.
can't we play during Masters Week?
Okay.
Gotcha.
And I said, actually, I sent a ridiculous offer, which I won't name, to your agent, and he turned it down.
I wish y'all could have seen the air quotes.
And yeah. It was 4 air quotes. That big an offer, more money than they were getting at that time, about $20,000 more dollars than they're getting at that time. So so I tell him this, that I sent this to that. So immediately, this is like 1:00 in the morning. Ryan picks up the phone, wakes up his manager, Vince, and is like, "Why did this not get brought up to us as a band?" So next thing you know, a couple of days later, I get a call from their manager Vince, and it's like, "Look, that wasn't cool. We're playing the Masters, during Masters Week,
Right.
during Masters
air
Week.
quotes.
Yeah, exactly. I've gotten more cease and assist than you can count." The manager Vince, who also manages Yonder Mountain String Band and every other, he is the most respected, most straight-laced, in the most crooked industry there is.
Yeah.
But you still went behind his back?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't talk to him. I talked to the agent.
No, yeah.
Put it this way: the agent and this guy, Aaron Pincus. Pincus, if you're hearing this, I still love you. But he's literally, his picture is with Ari Gold. Like Jeremy Piven from Entourage.
Heard.
So he literally reps every Paradigm
Wow.
agency. Paradigm agency, which is like the biggest agency, up there with,
Right.
probably top 2. And he has his own office. They have 3 offices in Nashville and Sacramento and then one in Austin, Texas, which there's only one agent there, and that's Aaron Pincus. So,
Pincus, if you're hearing this, Chris
you
Snapples
are the
loves
man.
you.
You are the man. So his
You are the man.
I'm on the show, bro.
His pictures literally with Jeremy Piven. So this guy,
Dang.
But he'll rip me in half and then send me a Bill Graham book and tell me to read it. But so these guys like this, I was a kid. I was 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
Like, they don't give people like me trust with bands that are of that expensive. Like, that just doesn't happen. This isn't Woodstock and in the 60s, early 70s.
Right.
Like, this doesn't happen. And that only happened because I didn't get messed up. So, so they could trust me. I wasn't some kid that's going to have you at the fraternity party and get so drunk you can't find the check. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't that kid. And so from there, I got put on Humphreys McGee's wing and they came and played the first Major Rager, which was a rain out at the
comments?
No.
No?
This was
Lady
this was
A?
supposed to be. This was supposed to be at the Riverwalk Jesse Norman Amphitheater.
Oh, okay.
Really?
And as I call the Riverwalk Amphitheater, because
Yes.
no one knows what Jesse Norman is, even though mad respect, Jesse, God rest your soul. So we moved into the T Center, which hadn't even opened yet, and destroyed it. Humphrey McGee comes in there on a sold out 2,000 person show.
Holy moly.
I think there was like $26,000 in damage. You know, like at the girls' bathroom. The girls think this, like, you think guys are nasty? Go to a girls' bathroom.
yeah.
Tell me, George.
Dude, they had ripped it. They had ripped a reinforced steel, because I knew the construction of the building. It was a reinforced steel of like 6 sinks that were put together. I don't know if they had like 20 people jumped on it together and ripped it off the wall, but there was like water damage, other stuff. Anyway, the Marriott was super cool.
That's good.
That's surprising, by the way.
Because I basically had to write him a check for the profits.
Oh, dang.
But anyway, we
that's-
were
that's
able
your-
to pull it off. And so from that point on, it was like, you know, I think the regeneration of what Brian and that age gap, because Augusta, for a good solid almost 2 decades, at least a decade and a half, didn't have that. You know, Brian, my partner at Southbound and partner in Friends of Benefits, you know, he owned the Red Lion Pub, and you had String Cheese play there. You had Bruce Hornsby play there.
You had a
Jerry
lot of
Truck-
people play there.
You had a lot of people play there. And so he was a mentor to me. And if we want to get into how I started Southbound.
Yeah, so let's take
do
this
that.
to like.
So-
I'm really curious to know how.
So how Southbound started out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, it obviously came from a destroyed female bathroom.
yeah, so
That's where
So
that's
after
where you
then-
were like, we need to do
so then-
barbecue.
Exactly. So, you know, so after then, it wasn't till.
is that why the southbound bathrooms are so
Dude.
simple?
Exactly. There's only like one of them in each. There's only one bathroom in each stall. But so basically, so that would have been, you know, beginning of April. I think it was a low April month, and Brian had invested in Friends of Benefits at that time.
Do you want to say Brian's name?
Brian Brittingham.
Okay.
Brittingham. Okay.
Thank you.
And you know, at that time, he that would have been the beginning of April. I think it was like a 3rd or 4th. It wasn't the middle of the month. So I played in this golf tournament with my dad. At the time, we were looking at buying a venue in town. I was still in Charleston, working for East Coast Entertainment. I'd been gone from
And so
Augusta
you
for
haven't
a
even
while.
mentioned that. So what
Yeah,
did
yeah,
you do? What did you do for East Coast Entertainment?
So I was the national talent buyer for them.
Okay.
And also did a bunch of wedding stuff for them.
So that probably connected you with a lot of people.
It connected me with a lot of people. It connected me with a good man, Steve Harry, that was from here.
Okay.
But what it did was got me to have clients spend enough money to where these agents love me.
Right.
Gotcha.
And
You
that
know,
makes
because
sense.
when you have a fraternity booking a band that's
a little
worth
different.
20,000, then you just got them 50. They love you.
Yeah. There you
So,
go.
you know,
All
so
right.
yes, did East Coast Entertainment help me? Yes, they're a great
Okay.
company. They're great.
So you came out of Charleston working with them?
Yeah, so I left Augusta. We started Friends of Benefits, and and I saw this opportunity after that major rager we did with Humphreys. Later, that Friday night I was in town before I went to see Humphreys. On that Saturday night, I ran into Steve Harry, one of the owners of East Coast Entertainment, at a members' master's party, and he knew my father, and said, "Hey, why don't you come work for me in Charleston?" I was like, "Man,
And so this is
I kinda
like
like what I'm doing.
2012?
Yeah, 20.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I
Gotcha.
said, this is, I was like, look, I just started this, that. And he said, I started here and let me teach you the ropes. And, and he taught me a lot, about, how things work, how the industry works, et cetera. And then, once again, I kind of outgrew that agency.
Okay.
Not for them, but just in all the different.
Like aspirationally, you wanted to do more.
Well, it wasn't that. It was more that I just had too much going on.
Okay.
In my life, and at the time, I was working with the East Coast at that, and Brian, we were going to become partners, and we were going to open a venue. We were
Okay.
talking to Coco and again, probably 2013 or 14, I got involved with Coco Rubio and Steve Hall, who's like also like a huge mentor to me. And that's when Cage the Elephant, which if people don't know that, Cage the Elephant played Sky City. And
What year was that?
I think
'Cause I'm very upset right now.
I had to have been in like high school because I
I
don't
had
think
to
I
have
was
been
old
out of
enough.
town.
talking about the craziest show that ever happened. This dude jumps off stage, has the mic in his hand, like cordless mics that just came out. They'd oversold the show by like 300 people.
Sure,
So you
yeah.
couldn't even see anything. And the only reason why there wasn't like 300 refunds is that guy went crowd surfed from the stage through Sky City, out the front door, ran back around, and got back on stage.
Oh my goodness,
Dude,
Otherwise, there would have been like 300.
And I've seen them in Atlanta. That guy's crazy.
Insane.
They put on a great show.
The
though.
shows that we did there, like in Sky City, like that was Coco Rubio giving me a chance at that in 2013.
So
And
you were the one booking those shows.
So
at that time it was Steve Hall, and Steve Hall and I
Okay.
get together. So Steve Hall, Cage the Elephant, etc. And then we started doing like, Sturgill Simpson, Jason Isbell. We started doing
Yeah.
shows with Coco Rubio and doing a lot.
I remember
everything in there. Everything in there.
I remember being 17 through 20 years old, and I would hear all these promos, and I was so pissed off at you guys for being a bar because I couldn't
at
go
the
to
time
any
it
of the
was
shows.
Coco's. It was Coco's. And Coco was
No,
a very
yeah, I
big-
mean, no, it wasn't at you.
Coco was a big advocate of that, and I am too. Like at the time, Sky City, it wasn't a bar; it was a venue, and
Sure.
and
But it was a 21 and up venue.
But it was a 21 and up venue. But the same thing you run through at the country club. But the country
Right,
club is
right.
not as the country club dance hall and saloon is not a venue. I mean, not a bar. It's a venue. And the commission has been nothing but great to me. Anything I've ever wanted to do, any noise ordinance I've been able to push to midnight or even further.
Okay.
I won't state
good.
times.
That's good.
But they're for that. They're for people coming down
Okay.
here. They know that we run a tight camp. They know that there's other promoters. There is some that aren't,
Right.
but Joe and Emily Stevenson, even from the production and the security and everybody that are there, whether that's Trey Maxwell or Rob Boggs,
Right.
like they trust. We have a very tight knit community that everyone works together, whether you're in entertainment or in the restaurant. Everybody's here to make a better Augusta and in Charleston and in Charlotte and in Atlanta, which I've been in all those cities and done events and done things in all of them. It's every man for himself.
And I want to say, I said I was pissed off, but really, like what I was getting at is the shows back then. I feel like were incredible.
Dude, Sturgill Simpson played on the night that he won Merging Artist of the Year at the CMAs, and he got on stage, and I was for sure he was going to cancel. So this would have been in 13.
Yeah.
He wins Merging Artist of the Year at CMAs. It's on TV. He's on stage. It's like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, even before then, I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to play the show. Like he's going to go accept this award. Same year, Jason Isbell dropped Southeastern, so it's like Jason is Artist of the Year. This is Merging Artist of the Year. They're boys, and Sturgill's going to cancel this show. No, he doesn't. He comes and says, literally, I'd much rather play to 400 of you than sell out and sit on TV at the CMAs. And I was like,
Wow.
that's what's up.
And this was Sky City.
This was Sky City.
Wow. That's incredible.
And
So-
so, like, the stuff that's done there and that
Yeah.
stuff is that place and the memories there, even before then at the Mission, which I never went to. I never got to go to Red Lion. I was too
Right.
young.
Yeah.
But like these people set these courses, and all I did, with the exception of a lot of people helping me. I may be the face of a lot of things, but this is not a one-man train.
My favorite concert at Sky City is more recent than not, but it was the Oh Hellos.
Oh Hellos.
Did you bring them in?
I did not. That was, but my partner Steve Hall did.
That
And-
was incredible. I'm a huge fan of the Oh Hellos, and I did not think I've been to
Such a great
many.
show. I went and saw him at the Roxy that same week.
See, there you
Wow.
go. See, I have been to many concerts at the at Sky City, and I
You
did not
lucky
and I did
bastard.
not know how the Oh Hellos would work in that situation.
Yeah, well, I didn't
They
either. That's
rocked
why I
it.
didn't invest in it, and I let one of my partners.
Dude, they rocked it.
And I wish I did.
My wife proved me wrong. My wife proved it was packed house, and it was just they brought in a.
They're so good.
Oh my gosh, they're so good. Okay.
What year are we on?
2013.
So 2013.
Question mark.
we get in to start doing shows, and Coco guiding us, and
Yeah.
we were young. I mean, I was. Oh, what am I now? 34. I was 20.
28, 27 ish.
No, 26.
Wow,
So
that's
like
awesome.
I was so close.
So I was learning a lot, and at the time I was striking gold.
Yeah.
I could do nothing wrong.
Right.
And I remember doing a show, and we did the Future Birds, like Mama's Love and Funk You, and we did it at the old Richmond Academy
Yeah.
building,
Yeah.
and it was we lost our butt. And I remember sitting out there with another great stage company, and I stayed up all night with one of my partners at the time, Peter Mink, and just like, how did this not work out? Because we had a lot of people there, but you spent so much money on production and all this stuff to build it outside and create this scene. And, that was the real first kind of taste of it being like, it was right that, and then followed right behind it. We did like another concert for Scott Peoples, raised money, and then Scott Peoples lost the sheriff race. And so it was like this double whammy of going into years of doing nothing wrong and to being like, this is life, like you're going to have your ups and downs, but at the same time, I'm addicted to the chaos, so
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going,
Right.
and I did. And, I don't really remember what, 14, 15, 16, everything again started taking back off for us.
Okay.
The shows we started doing, everything we did at that time, whether that was the Calming with the Flaming Lips or Revivalist or just everything works.
So I worked with I'm a teacher. I worked with another guy, Jason Shepard. I'm sure you know him. He works.
Jason, he's in Brian's band.
Yeah, he is in Brian's band. Specifically
their
the Scarlet Begonias.
Yeah, they just played the other night. That
I know, yeah.
Spaced Out tour.
I know.
That Spaced Out show was great.
That's
It's
good.
a way to be safe and not just hide.
That's good. But Jason was. I remember when the Flaming Lips came, and he was like, "Dude, the Flaming Lips are coming to Augusta,
It's the
Georgia."
most insane thing ever.
And their production had to be out of the roof, man.
Dude, it was crazy. And so we actually went to Shaw at the Fillmore maybe the week before to talk to Wayne, like, about Wayne Coyne. And, like, he's, like, this new album he did with Miley Cyrus. And,
Yeah.
of course, like, Miley's hot. Like,
Right,
it's
right,
like,
right,
this
right.
is so cool.
Yeah.
And so, we went to the Fillmore in Charlotte and hung out with him for the night. And what's even cooler about that is that, like, he asked us what we wanted. What do you
That's
want
cool.
me to do?
That's really cool.
And I was like, dude, I want this to just be out there, because Moon Taxi was playing, but they had a radius clause, and so they couldn't play as Moon Taxi. So they came as People of the Sun and played all Rage Against the Machines. So it was retarded. I mean, it was like insane. I mean, to see, and they crushed it. Moon Taxi crushed it. And, then Wayne Coyne comes out, and Wayne was just, next thing I know, there's a unicorn. He comes
Right.
down to Ball, and there's this unicorn coming through the crowd. I'm like, what in the heck is going on? But he was so crazy and fun and cool and such a down-to-earth guy. And they have their own tattoo artist. And he got a major rager.
Like a traveling tattoo
traveling
artist?
tattoo artist. And he got a major rager with
What
the
a
lips.
gig.
That's such
He
a
got-
rock star thing.
He got a major rager logo with the lips and golf ball on his
That's so
wrist.
cool.
That is so cool.
It was like the coolest thing ever to
Yeah.
have like a legend like that, really come through and do that was, it was just mad respect. you
Yeah.
know?
So it seems like events and live stuff especially is kind of a passion for you.
It is, but it's a double-edged sword, as I got into doing bigger stuff, and I don't want to. So let's say 15, 16. So 16 is when Keith Urban and stuff was going on.
Right.
Okay.
So, that was our first 14 is when we did Kid Rock. And
Yes.
Kid Rock was like,
I think that those couple of years kind of put you guys on the map.
that was on the next level. I mean,
Right.
Golf Digest doing an article about that. It was like, really put me as someone being in my 20s on the next level, which was due to my godfather, Clay Bourbon, who was involved in Six Man and Rock Boat and Music with Friends. So he's been heavily involved in the music industry outside of a huge entrepreneur and a big mentor to me of just saying, dude, whether he ever said it to me or not, his lifestyle is I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Not like in like a dick way or in a bad way, but like
I like
just,
all this.
But just being like, look, he wants to redo Enterprise Mill, not about making money, but just doing it just to do it, or do this, kind of Habitat for Humanity type of thing. Like he just does what he wants, and he created this great series called Music with Friends, which is with 400 people, and it's like $500 a ticket, and you see every artist you can imagine, from Kiss to Hall & Oates to Sheryl Crow to just Darius Rucker, and you're running into Bill Murray. I mean, it's insane.
Wow.
And so
Where does that happen?
It's in Charleston, Nashville,
Okay.
Charlotte now, but then now he started this new thing called Moon Crush, where he takes it to private country clubs and the members pay, and they have a thing with it. So but he's a great entrepreneur, and and regardless of whatever family money came from that, he still has done and pursued a life that he wanted, selfish or not. I think for me and me as a person, I think what I want in life is, to be remembered. So that's what I do, is try to do stuff that instead of just going. And when I first got out of, I came into Augusta, I was doing insurance and said, what is that going to be for me? Like, I want to do something that'll make an impact where, somebody when I'm dead and gone said, hey, look, he did, this guy started this guy did this. And that was, I'm going to circle back to Brian, but, Brian did that. Brian was that, and there was a long time that didn't happen. And so, I'm going to go into Southbound now, which I just jumped all over the place.
Perfect.
But,
Do it.
So Southbound, Brian, I think we were looking at Scout City, a couple other places to make a venue. I was moving home from Charleston just because I'd seen everything done in Charleston. And I'd been a part of events. I had friends that owned clubs, restaurants, venues, etc., and loved Charleston. Always have, always will. And, but everything been done there. So it was kind of like, you can be a big fish in a small pond, or you can be the pond.
Okay.
There you go.
Don't go anywhere, because when we get back, George Claussen is going to talk to us about how he drops the diss. Chris, we are all about local business on Drop the Diss, and we're, our partners are the Little Guide. We have Savannah River Brewery. Nancy Powell is a downtown Augusta broker. And this next partnership that you guys probably know very well at the Clubhouse is this beautiful mix of bringing local culture to a better place from a worldwide perspective, but also respecting the city of Augusta. And Eric Parker and Grace Belagia, the owner and executive directors of the Clubhouse, they came on our show and they talked about how they experienced all these places in the world. They've been to Silicon Valley, they've lived in California, they've run these huge businesses. And they come back to Augusta and they say, this is a beautiful city and we're going to build it up just like Silicon Valley. And if you listen to the Hardy Davis episode, you'll hear Hardy Davis say something very insightful, which is that Augusta is one of the big players in the world to become the next cyber center internationally.
He used the word the black horse.
He did. The dark horse.
The dark horse.
He did. And I think a large reason for that is because of the Clubhouse.
Absolutely.
We love our partnership with them. If you're looking to network, if you're looking to grow your business, check them out. TheClubhou.se. The Clubhouse, put the period before the SE. It doesn't make any sense when you say it, but when you type it, you're going to be like, oh, that's so easy.
Right. Or just Google the Clubhouse, Augusta, Georgia, downtown Augusta, and you'll find something as well.
Chris, thank you for saying that. So you know what's interesting? When Southbound first opened up,
We don't have a clue what we're doing.
I remember though, I was in
just
college. I was in college, and I know a guy named Jerry Reynolds who you may know.
Jerry.
Jerry took me to Southbound like the week y'all opened because I was in housing for my fraternity, and
Talk about a mad entrepreneur. Respect.
oh, he's
That guy.
insane.
Yeah.
He's insane, dude.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
Yeah.
In a good way, but he's insane. And
Try Lambda.
he took me to Southbound, and he said, this is going to be the next big restaurant in Augusta. And I was sitting in Crumbs because Crumbs had just closed basically, right? And you
Yep.
guys had taken
Yep.
that spot. And I was
can't
like,
wait to tell you how that happened.
I was like, this place that always closes down is going to be the next big thing. And he was like, oh yes, these guys are geniuses. They have opened the perfect restaurant. And I got to say, I didn't believe him. And you've proven me and I'm sure tons of other people on the Hill wrong
Dude,
about
it's
that.
not, dude, and we learned the hard way, and we still do, and we're not perfect, and we have our faults, and we learn, and we've learned so much in the 5 years that's been open.
So where did that come from?
So it came
Crumbs
from, okay, so
closes.
basically, so what happened
Yeah.
is this. So we do the major rager, et cetera. Brian had got into Friends of Benefits second year as Humphreys. We had done the Birdies and Bogies, which we went to Moon Taxi, and then major rager turned to Humphreys. Brian gets involved at that point and says, look, let's buy a venue in Augusta. I'm like, okay, I want to move home. I was dating my wife, Hannah, at the time, and was in Charleston, and living two lives, not like that, but just I had
Right.
Right.
I had-
Augusta life, Charleston
exactly,
life.
and I was driving home every other weekend, and Charleston's not real, even though my family's had a place there my whole life. I know that, like I've been arrested there many times, but it was like, I know Charleston's not real. It's a great place to visit, but to live there for a person like me is not good.
Right.
So, it was like, look, let's go home and let's just try to help Augusta get to this level that's inevitably going to happen, because I saw it from a distance. Mm-hmm. I saw Augusta growing. I saw that happening. I saw Indian Queen opening. I saw the shift.
Yeah.
Downtown wasn't there yet, but so I kind of saw things happening.
I think Soleil was kind of the first thing that happened downtown where people were like,
Soleil
something
was
is
the
happening.
first thing that happened.
Yeah.
And the guy that was involved as an owner then, Mike, was a G. And the guys that still own it are still great. But Mike got that thing off the ground. And I was doing a lot of booking in Clemson, et cetera. So I was already familiar with those guys
Okay.
because I
Right.
was booking their clubs.
Yeah. Same group.
Isn't that weird how everything just comes into mind?
Small
when
small
Mike,
circle.
Small
so like
world,
when
man.
Mike moved here and stuff like that, like I knew that restaurant group because I used to book for them for East Coast. But so basically it did the Masters, the Humphreys, everything was a success besides the damage bill. But so at the end of that month, it's always a jamboree. I play with my dad, and my dad's big about me not being on my phone, but I'm like in the top 1% of Verizon phone users. The fact that I've not looked at my phone in like the last 30 minutes.
hasn't.
Anybody that's listening to this podcast will call bullshit, but I swear, BS. Sorry, but I swear to God, I haven't. Meanwhile, I have like 4,000 text messages.
Oh,
Right.
So they, so Brian says, Dad and I played. Of course, I played bad, but I never played well with my dad. Yeah, I did one.
Who
year.
does?
Too much pressure.
No, exactly.
Who does?
Hey, you did this shot. Yeah, hey, Dad, leave me alone. I don't play well.
I think you need to square your shoulders a little more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think you need to really get into that one. I would play a pitching
You
match.
sure you want to use that club?
You sure you want to leave me alone, or I'll walk off the golf course?
Right.
Which just happened. No, just kidding. Love you, Dad. I love you, Dad. So basically, from there, I didn't have my phone in like a couple of days, or I hadn't checked it or something. And so we're playing this jamboree, father, son, whatever. And Brian says, come down to Crumbs. Central. And I'm like, for what? Crumron's our boy, especially Brian. Like, they all grew up together. And I go down there, and he's ripped out this bar, like, completely. And he's like, dude, we're about to open a restaurant. And I'm like, yeah, I thought we were buying a venue. And so the funny thing is about barbecue restaurants and Brian's involvement is that Home Team Barbecue, who's probably the most recognized barbecue in this country, was involved in Brian's fraternity within recent years of them. Tony Mackey, who's from Augusta, is one of the owners of Home Team Barbecue, who's in Charleston, Columbia, Aspen, 3 locations in Charleston alone. And then you have Fox Brothers in Atlanta, which everybody's familiar with. That's Bull Nolan. All these guys were Chi-Fi's with Brian, Del Sol, Southern Soul.
Are they all Dead fans?
Yeah, so everything's
Of course.
So basically,
Obviously.
and how Southbound came about was the name, was that my father was big on sending me. I'd go to camp. I was a bad kid, obviously, and so I'd go to camp and stuff all the time. My dad sent me with a bunch of CDs. And he sent me a Brothers and Sisters album of Allman Brothers. He sent me Pink Floyd Echoes, Jimi Hendrix Experience, randomly Cat Stevens.
So there's so much going on in your brain.
At like 8 years old. And Cat Stevens, and I'm in a cabin where we listen to this every day for like 40 days.
Yeah.
And then
So
Cat
your brain
Stevens,
is exploding
and then-
with like
and then-
700 different
yeah, but
genres.
then on top of that, then he sent me this random Alabama greatest hits. How do you go Alabama, Cat Stevens, Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd, Allman Brothers? I don't know, but somehow it warped my mind. So, the name of that, Brian, I was like, I'm down, like we can figure this out. We know enough people, a lot of recipes were shared. Home Team is been great to us. They're close friends with Brian, close friends with me, and they've helped us really, because we were going to franchise with them, and they said, why? We'll tell you what we know. And we
Wow.
learn,
Wow.
and we do stuff a little different, and they're light years ahead of us. We're 5 years in, they're 15 years in. And
Right.
there's still a lot of things we have to work on. There's still a lot of things we have to do, and we've kind of learned that my music career came before everything, came before my friends, came before my wife, came before my restaurants, came before my bars. That's what I wanted. And I had to make a decision. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it was just like I did a 3-day festival back in November, and that was the last thing I wanted to accomplish, But what I sacrificed was never worth what I ever gained or lost in the music career. And that's what I say, like when people think, oh, it's so cool, you got to hang out with Louis Vert, you got to meet, Bob Weir or Jim James, whoever, Widespread Panic, played my 30th birthday here at the James Brown Arena, but what does that mean when you sacrifice everything? Nothing.
Yeah.
So, and I think this COVID and whatnot, it makes you it makes you, and I did this even before then, but it's just reiterated to me, what my priorities are in life.
Right.
And, to say, look, I'm taking a step back from, not saying I'm not going to do shows, but the shows I will be doing will be at the amphitheater outside at Southbound 2, and, in the festivals, it takes a lot of work, We just opened Southbound 2, and I took off for 4 months to go work on a festival that was what I wanted to do in Charleston, and it was in November, in the middle of opening a restaurant, because that's what I wanted, and left my partner hanging. That's not cool, But, you go through life and, things that, you think are important to you at the time, because I'm naturally a selfish person, you get checked, and it's like, what's it all worth? Not saying I don't love the music industry, not saying that I'm going to officially ever stop, but, as you get older, your priorities not only change because they need to, they change because they have to.
Yeah.
They have to.
So you have Southbound. Southbound, the
The inaugural Southbound
it was
on
incepted.
Central Avenue.
It was incepted with Brian
It was accepted with Brian
and Home Team Barbecue.
and Home Team Barbecue indirectly.
Indirectly, okay.
Yeah, like they didn't sit there like hand us recipes, but
Okay.
you know we
Right.
There was a couple of things that I knew how to do, and a couple of things Brian and I are not chefs, and so but there was a couple of things we knew what to do, how to do, buy the right equipment, etc. But
Right.
we'd never been in the restaurant industry, so for like the first 2 years, it was a
Right.
freaking mess.
By the way,
That's
terrible
not-
industry
Yeah, no,
overall.
Oh my god.
I'm sure Southbound is a great restaurant,
Dude,
but terrible
but
industry.
Dude, it's like being the principal of middle school. You know,
Now,
like,
however, y'all's wine slushies are a hit for my wife.
yeah, they do, and
Those
and
are the
things-
kinds of business moves. That's why they're
Froze,
still,
It
yeah.
is.
I believe.
You know, and I think the frozes are great.
Yeah.
But you know,
And they're in a white styrofoam cup.
and the way styrofoam cup.
Love it.
and
On
we
brand.
also get our Moscow mules from my favorite restaurant in Charleston, Ribbit, one of my buddy spots. That they drive them down, fresh
Holy
squeezed,
crap.
and then we pour alcohol in them. Yeah.
So
So I mean, like, there's just little things you do like that. But
Yeah.
when you're so spread out, and as I was, I guess we'll get into that in a second. But I was just spread thin. But so Brian and I opened up, not knowing what to do. My brother had come along, Katie Guerin, who was running Sheehan's at the time,
Okay.
came in, and then you learned at that time that that Augusta as a restaurant community is willing to help everybody. And
Yeah.
they knew we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And you're John Beck, you're Sean White, you're Sean Ledford, you're
Yep.
Robert from Ruse. Everybody helped us whenever they could. And we were taking such volume that like no one could handle the volume. You know what I mean? We were like an
Yeah.
hour and a half ticket times, like on average.
It's interesting that you say that because, we've been doing this podcast for about a year now, and the overwhelming theme is Augusta helps Augusta out.
Right.
They do, and no other city does that, bro.
And that's a lot coming from you.
They don't.
Seriously.
And I've been in every other city.
Yeah. And that's huge.
They
And
do. I mean, you have your boys, but like at the end of the day,
Right.
they're gonna
Right.
get theirs. Like if I need
Exactly.
ice, or if I run out of 2-ounce ramekins, or I need this or that, like I can pick up the phone and call Sean White. I can pick up the phone.
That's
and call,
huge.
Anybody. If that's Eric Kinlaw, whoever. If I had to, anybody, and they're there for you.
That's really cool.
And that doesn't happen, and
Yeah.
that shows a lot for Augusta because we know what it can be. And look what's happened in the last 2 years. I mean,
Right.
downtown, to get the college crowd down here, like kind of.
it took a lot, by the way.
It took a lot,
I
like-
was that college crowd, and
Well,
I
as we
will
got
say we
Southbound
did not want to
going,
go
like
downtown.
Indian Queen and Southbound were rocking, and then
Yeah.
which caused Surrey Tavern's 3-year decade to end. And Maddie was huge to us, huge, great friend. We took Mickey, his bartender, who was still our number one bartender, was the first guy that ever served me a drink. You see these guys that do that, and it's just it's. It just the torch goes on, and
Right.
and Maddie was getting older, et cetera, and it kind of came to us, and then we were super aggressive, and again we were back on our hot streak, and we're gonna buy Sky City, and did, and put a big renovation in it, and we're grabbed two of people that had been involved with a lot of things with me before, with Tommy Wofford at Millviewer, and Andrew as well, and got them involved and et cetera. But at the time, we were building Southbound Music Hall, so which ended up going into planning and zoning and all this. It ended up being we worked
Right.
on that in 2017 and
Right.
didn't open it till 2019 Masters Week. So just a lot of restrictions were there because of it being zoned.
And for the listeners at home, you're talking about the
Wilson
the
Central,
building
the
next
venue
door
on Central.
to
Southbound. So it was going to be a music hall, and then after zoning, it was residential. Even though we soundproofed the place, spent Ubers of money and an investor, a partner, it went over and about to make sure this was
right.
was done right. So we decided to kind of get out, majority and switch out our Brian and I were majority owners, and then switching to minority, and then less. But of Garden City, which at the time I didn't think Augusta was ready for it, because a buddy of mine owned Quid Park Social in Charlotte, and it was like, dude, this is so aggressive. I don't think that's gonna happen.
But you were wrong.
Completely wrong.
So wrong.
Dude, so wrong.
Isn't that the best thing when you're so
Yes.
wrong about something?
I think Augusta was hungry for something.
It was.
like
But
that.
it was so modern that like I didn't think that, like who would give up a majority ownership of something? Like I would have bet you it wouldn't, and like kudos to them.
Yeah.
And now they're out of it, and now it's Netz's and Brandon's who deserve it. They made that
Right.
place, and they've created a great product, and I love those boys and what they've started, and the scene and Soleil, like
Yeah.
they
And I
they
think like
brought it
without
down,
you
dude.
guys and Garden
we
City,
were-
I don't think the scene would have worked, because I
No.
think you have to have that kind of
You do.
multiple steps.
You
there has
can't.
to be there has to be a balance.
And
Right.
there has to, and it was Augusta was ready, and Scott City was not ready for that. You
No,
had
right.
You had Barrel House, which was the country club that opened at the same time that we opened,
Right.
and the Miller.
Man.
So you're talking.
By the way, were you booking all those rap shows? You know what I'm talking about. The Ludacris and the not Lil Wayne.
maybe
Lil Jon.
Lil Jon.
I was at all of those, by the way.
It
I
was
was at
fun.
every
I think
single one of
Yin
those.
Yang.
Yin Yang. I was
Yeah.
at both
We just
Yin Yang
did, yeah,
Twins
that's-
concerts.
That last Yin Yang we just did.
Oh my
They're
gosh.
always so fun.
Yeah.
For like 10 years, even like college and or stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We were like, I'm like, these guys are just the most fun.
You know what
Yeah.
we haven't gotten into?
What?
How'd y'all get a spot in the stadium?
Oh my
For the
gosh.
Green Jacket. I mean, that's a spot.
So
Right.
we got so earlier on, Southbound had been successful. Chris Shane, who's a master developer, that he owns the Georgia Theater.
Wow.
He owns Cos Capital Theater. He owns the Roxy. Was involved in multiple different minor league baseball teams. Like super mentor. This guy's a G, like straight frat dad, like Ferris Bueller if he grew up. Builds like the W in Atlanta, like in Midtown. Like that's
Wow.
next level stuff. So, we were tight with Freddie Bench from Sweetwater, and so they own Sweetwater, and Freddie's wild and crazy, and one of Brian's boys and one of my boys, and that was kind of our end. It was like they were gonna probably go to some Chili's or something, and instead we brought in like, hey, look, we got Sweetwater, and I think they had kind of already had a relationship anyway, but. We were able to, it was going to be a brewery eventually.
Okay.
It was supposed to be.
Wow.
But
Wow.
you had to pay some brewmaster, and there's no way we could sell
Yep.
enough alcohol to ever make sense. So we, decided to have a second floor, which we're working on now, which you'll see in September of our new concept up there.
Does it have anything to do with what I attended back in February or January, the Oyster Bar? The Oyster Party?
No, we're not doing like.
Was
So there will be some Tapas Craft Raw Bar that is coming soon.
okay.
So okay.
I love it.
If you want to know why the upstairs of Southbound has been closed for 6 months, that's what is going on. And I won't tell you the name or anything else. But yes, there is a new concept that we're excited about that is coming up there. And there's more details to come on that for sure. It's
Okay.
going to be great.
We're excited.
But the building's great. And
And did I hear
know,
you say that you'll break that news on our show?
Sure.
Did you also say you had
Brian will probably have to duct tape me to shut me up.
Put him in the other chair.
Yeah, there you go.
I've got a question real quick about the Southbound
Yeah.
and some things they've done. We were just talking about Sweetwater and how y'all kind of partnered up or whatnot. David and I went to Southbound 1 off Central one day, and we noticed y'all had a beer on tap, and it was the Green
The
Jacket
Green
Ale.
Jacket Ale.
The Augusta National, after a long debate, agreed that as long as Sweetwater did not make it a national beer,
Interesting.
that they would let it sell it at the stadium or at Southbounds.
That's really cool.
It is very cool.
And you
It
guys
is.
have have two from Sweetwater now, right?
Yeah, we had the Southbound Lager. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to have.
That one's
That is
honestly even
super
better.
cool.
Freddie Bench is the man.
Now, but with having it the South, because it's only sold out the store at the restaurant, it's okay.
It's
because
only
there's
on draft.
because
Yeah.
there's a Southbound Brewery in Savannah.
Yeah. And those are coincidentally, those are good friends of ours too.
That's great. Obviously, y'all have Southbound cans.
Yeah, they're cool.
They're-
They're
love
so
it.
you see the stuff and like I'm not big into this like fraternity and college stuff, but like a lot of these kids branched out from taking the normal. I'm gonna go take the insurance or banking job or whatever,
Right.
and you've seen a lot of people, especially the SEC schools, take the initiative and have been really big entrepreneurs and the barbecue industry and also the brewery industry. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a couple alumni of my fraternity that have a brewery in Statesboro.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see. It's cool to see it.
I was just curious if y'all ever had any flack, but now y'all have a relationship.
Yeah.
That's
They
awesome.
were
That's really cool.
Like, after like anytime I've mentioned them in an interview or online or anything, I've catching my heat. But
That's really cool.
So
Okay.
I guess let's put a nice bow on this. So
Yeah.
we've kind of taken
tie
this.
this thing up.
We've taken this from Augusta Christian to ARC.
Gosh, sick of it.
We've
Camps with
we've done
Pink
camps
Floyd.
with all kinds of
Cancer
artists.
Floyd. Thanks, Dad.
We've been to Charleston. We've come
Yeah.
back, and now you're the owner of part owner of two Southbound restaurants. You've helped
Yes.
start Garden City.
No. I started Southbound and was involved in a very small degree. Yes. But yes.
Okay, just involved.
Involved, yes.
Well, I mean, owner, but had nothing to do with it. That was Tommy Wofford's
Okay.
and Andrew's concept completely.
Okay.
Believe me, I did not, think.
Okay. And so you've had friends with benefits, and you still have
Yeah,
friends with benefits. So I'm going to toss this to Chris to put a bow on it real quick. And before I do that, I'm just going to ask you. We've got the Tapas bar conversation that we can't take any further. What's next for you?
I think that'll be it, man. Like I was kind of mentioned earlier on, like, I'm at a point to where, I think that I'm 34. I just turned 34 and, not like, a couple months ago.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, happy belated birthday, right?
Happy 419, but yeah.
Mine was last week, so I'll wait for
Well,
mine.
happy belated to you.
Thank you.
I think a lot was just really remembering, as I touched on before, about, after I'd done the festival in Charleston, the 3-day festival in Charleston, that was kind of my last bucket list of doing any, of my selfish life goals.
So you're kind of turning away from events going forward.
I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to go do the ballsy Zach Brown Midland $1 million shows. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like if something makes sense, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Right.
But I'm not, it came not about what was smart. It was what I wanted to do. And it took me a lot to realize that. And then also took me a lot that, I had a partner that put in a majority of the work for basically Southbound's existence while I was running around the country doing shows from St. Louis to God knows where, just because this is what I wanted to do. And, I owned other places, but was not the partner I needed to be. And something I figured out coincidentally a couple months before the pandemic. And then the pandemic came along and just reassured me of the life that is a young man's game. And I'm not that kid anymore. And I saw it in Coco Rubio's eyes when Augusta City, when you see it, and it's like,
Right.
look, when Maya goes off to college, and and he was a lot older than me, but it was his thing was when I turned 50, I'm out. And I heard him say that for like 8 years.
And we
Yeah.
talked to Coco, and you could kind of feel that he's
literally,
family
he said
based.
that.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And he said when Maya goes off to school, and so for me it was, my partner saying, look, you're either gonna sell off your equity or you're gonna be this. And I had a wife that said, look, you're either gonna be, you're going to be my husband or you're going to be alone. And then it finally hit, and I think anyone goes that in their life. They're like, this is a point where like, look, man, like I need to grow up, like I know it's fun and I'm out 4 nights a week till 3 or 4 in the morning, but I don't have to be. Like I can come home at 10. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When the restaurant,
It's a mental hurdle.
It is, and it's a big thing because that's what I've been used to for a decade of.
It's a rush
of just being in this nightlife and staying up late and waking up early. I only sleep like 4 hours a night anyway. But like I'm constantly on this go. I'm constantly, the indirectly kind of the center of attention of stuff when I don't have to be.
Right.
I've done everything I've wanted to do, and now I want to step back and spend some time on stuff that matters. And I hate to say that, but because I've heard this from so many different promoters and so many different business owners and so many this, and I think I'm probably a lot younger, but I'm really like 70 in like 2 years. My body's been through enough abuse. But it just kind of, I think you kind of recognize that like, look, what's it worth? It's not worth giving up what actually matters to do something that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. So, put a bow on that.
Well, I'm about to finish up that bow. Okay, so you've been in West Georgia. You grew up here. You went to Charleston, lived in Charleston, did the whole thing there. You saw that Charleston has already been where it is. You wanted to come to Augusta and make it possibly the same, or you saw that Augusta had that potential, has it still.
Oh, yeah.
So a guy comes down, maybe a friend of yours, or maybe someone you're not so sure about, comes into your restaurant, Southbound, or anywhere you want, and says, you know what, Augusta doesn't really have what it takes. And they just kind of, they diss Augusta. What would your response be to them?
That's a good question. I think that they need to. It's without a doubt that you can go back and reverse 2 years and see what's happened from Evans to downtown. It's just, and even in the entire CSRA in North Augusta. There's indisputable evidence of what's happening from factories being built to cyber centers to downtown growing. You got Tax Layer down here. You got, things are coming. Then you have Riverside Village and baseball stadiums, and you have Evans and their continual growth. It's the proof is in the pudding. They can doubt it all they want, but just if ask somebody, it really has, and it's hard to see. It's hard to see until you take a step back and you say, where were we 2 years ago? There was no Soleil, there was no Garden City, there was no Scene, there was no Riverside Village. There was, it didn't exist. And to see where it'll be 2 to 5 years from now, you better go buy some property near downtown.
Right.
I love that.
Right.
100%.
Hey, guess what? If you want to guarantee, don't trust the stock market, buy a building downtown.
Thanks, George, for being here.
Thank you so much, man. And we look forward to having you back for the big announcement.
Dude, seriously, we'd love to come and talk about it.
We'd love to have you.
It'll be here soon.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you to everyone for tuning in to the Drop the Disc podcast. We hope you enjoy this episode. Definitely tune in next week as we talk to Rob Smith from Le Chat Noir. If you like the show, please follow us on Instagram at Drop the Disc Pod. If you have any questions or comments about the show, if you'd like to be on the show, please contact us on social media or dropthediscpod@gmail.com. And make sure you leave us a rating or review, or just tell a friend. Remember, we're all in this together. Signing off from Augusta Podcast Studio. Thank you for listening.